When we think about recreational trails, we usually picture a place to walk the dog or maybe go for a bike ride, right? Just a simple path from A to B. But what if they're actually more than that? What if they're stories, literally written onto the landscape? Today, we're heading down to Tasmania, where two very different trails tell two absolutely fascinating and completely different stories about the island. So let's really get into it. What is a trail, anyway? Is it just a dirt path through the woods? Or is it a living record of a community's history and its hopes for the future? Well, on this one small island, we find two totally different answers. One trail that grew slowly, organically, from a single family's desire for escape, and another that was built in a flash to engineer a town's very survival. And our first story kicks off with the Tangara Trail, and its origin is, well, it's surprisingly personal. This didn't start with some big government plan or a massive investment. Nope. It all began with a family, a small shack, and a name they chose for a very, very private reason. So, according to the family who named their little shack Tangara, this is what the word meant to them. It was this really romantic idea, wasn't it? A name for their own private refuge, a place to escape from the world and just be together. A personal story for a very personal space. But here's where the story takes a really interesting turn. That intimate name, chosen for a family's private little getaway, was about to be given to a huge, sprawling public network. A network that wasn't about escaping at all, but about the exact opposite, bringing people together. This timeline really shows you just how organic the whole process was. This trail was not a project that happened overnight. It began super informally back in the 70s as new folks moved into these hobby farm areas. A lot of them had horses, and they just started making their own tracks to connect with their neighbors. Then, by 1985, the local council stepped in to help make it official. A few years later, a community group formed to manage it all. It was this slow, steady, community-driven evolution, decade by decade. And the result of all that slow, steady, grassroots effort? A network that's around 300 kilometers long today. I mean, think about that. That is an incredible scale, and it all grew from the simple, practical need of local horse riders who just wanted a safe place to ride. Okay, but let's circle back to that name, Tangara. Remember the romantic meaning, let's get away together? Well, the story of the word itself has this fascinating twist that gives the trail a whole new layer of meaning. It's a beautiful irony. And this slide just illustrates it perfectly. On one side, you have the family's idea, this romantic notion of escaping from the community. But then, you have the linguistic truth. The word, which likely comes from a mainland Eora dialect, actually means to go, often in the context of going to a meeting place. It's a word about moving towards community, not getting away from it. So, this is the crucial point. A name, chosen through a complete misunderstanding for a private escape, accidentally became the perfect name for a public trail that connects an entire community. A beautiful irony, written right there on the map. You couldn't make it up. All right, let's completely switch gears. For a totally different kind of story, we're now heading to Tasmania's northeast, to the Blue Derby Network. This trail wasn't born from decades of community habit. No, this one was forged out of sheer economic desperation. So we've seen the Tangara model, right? It's the slow, organic, grassroots path, a trail network that grew like a tree, adding a new ring year after year for half a century. And then there's the other model. Blue Derby isn't a tree, it's a lightning strike. It's a trail network built with one clear, urgent purpose: to save a town from falling off the map and instead put it right on the world stage. So here's the breakdown. The town of Derby used to be a bustling tin mining hub, but when that industry died out, the town was facing a really bleak future. The solution was incredibly bold: transform the rugged landscape into a world-class mountain biking mecca. It launched in 2015, and almost overnight, 125 kilometers of professionally built trails announced Tasmania to the entire global mountain biking community. The goal wasn't just recreation, it was economic survival, pure and simple. So, on this one island, we have these two amazing success stories, but they're built on completely opposite foundations. Let's really put them side by side and see what that looks like. This table just sums it up perfectly. Tangara's origin? Totally grassroots, just an informal community need. Derby's? Strategic investment from the government and private sector. Development? Tangara grew organically, piece by piece, over more than 50 years. Derby was planned and built in a flash. And the main goal, the big why? For Tangara, it was all about recreation for local residents. For Darby, it was about building an economic engine to drive tourism and save a whole region. So, what do these two very different paths tell us when we bring their stories together? What's the bigger picture here, the real story being written on the Tasmanian landscape? They tell us that trails are never just dirt and gravel, they are living documents. Tingara tells a story of community, of slow burn persistence, and the beautiful accidents of history. Blue Darby tells a story of incredible resilience, of strategic reinvention, and of a community's desperate and ultimately successful fight for its future. And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. The next time you're out on a local path, a bike trail, or a walking track, just ask yourself, was this path born from a slow, organic need, or was it built with some grand purpose in mind? What story is written on the land right under your feet?